In recent decades, the NFL has witnessed a significant shift from a league once dominated by the ground game to one that emphasizes the role of the quarterback. This change is not only evident in how the game is strategically played, but also in the allocation of player salaries, the frequency of quarterbacks winning MVP awards, and their priority in the draft. However, many people forget about the extraordinary players from various positions who have passed through the league since its early days and who were decisive in every game. Today, we're going to take a look at the top 25 players of all time and remember who these players were. But before we dive into the list, let's check out the criteria that were used to make our selections. Dominance during his era, individual success and accolades won, longevity and career milestones achieved, enduring impact and legacy, ranking relative to his position, team success and championships won. Without further ado, here's the list of the greatest players in NFL history. Don Hutson. A player decades ahead of his time, Hutson was the NFL's first standout wideout. Called an end in those days, Hutson led the NFL in receiving 7 times, receptions 8 times, and touchdown catches on 9 occasions. A multiple league MVP, Hutson led the Packers to 3 championships and is the first player in NFL history to record a 1,000-yard receiving season. His 99 career touchdowns remains the 11th highest total in NFL history, despite playing his final game in 1945. Tony Gonzalez. He enjoyed a remarkable run of consistent excellence during his 17-year career. He was selected to his first Pro Bowl at age 23 in 1999 and his last in 2013 at age 37. In between, Gonzalez was selected to 12 other Pro Bowls while becoming the most prolific tight end in NFL history. He is 3rd all-time in receptions, 6th in career receiving yards, and 8th in career touchdown receptions. Gale Sayers. As a rookie in 1965, he scored 20 touchdowns in just 14 games, including a record-breaking 6 touchdowns in a single game against the 49 ERs. In his brief career, the Kansas Comet accumulated 9,435 combined net yards and scored 336 points across 68 games for the Chicago Bears. Sayers retired as the NFL's all-time leader in kickoff return yards. Rod Woodson. One of the greatest athletes in NFL history, Woodson excelled as a cornerback, safety, and returner during his 17-year career. Named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year in 1993, he made history in 1995 by becoming the first athlete in a major American professional sport to return to play in the same season after major knee surgery. 5 years later, Woodson played a key role in the Ravens' historically dominant defense, leading Baltimore to its first Super Bowl victory. Alan Page. As a key member of the Vikings' legendary Purple People Eaters defense, Page was the first defensive player to win the NFL MVP. A Pro Bowler each year from 1968 to 1976, Page is credited with an exceptional number of career sacks, a remarkable achievement for a defensive tackle. His dominant play helped the Vikings win an NFL championship in 1969 and 3 NFC titles. He concluded his career with the Bears, maintaining a high level of play and recording a notable performance in his final game. Anthony Munoz. Recognized as the greatest left tackle in NFL history, Munoz earned 11 consecutive Pro Bowl selections and was named All-Pro in 9 of his 13 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. As a key player on the Bengals' first 2 Super Bowl teams, Munoz's exceptional pass protection was instrumental in helping quarterbacks Ken Anderson and Boomer Esiason each win league MVPs. Emmitt Smith. He was the engine behind the Cowboys' 1990s dynasty. From 1991 to 95, Smith won 4 rushing titles, league and Super Bowl MVPs in 3 Super Bowls. Smith continued to churn out 1,000-yard seasons after the Cowboys' championship years and remains the NFL's all-time career leader with 18,355 rushing yards and 164 rushing touchdowns. John Elway. Elway's greatness can be measured in the fact that he carried the Broncos to 3 Super Bowls over a 4-year span in the late 80s. Denver was woefully overmatched in those games, but Elway ended his career with back-to-back Super Bowl wins once the Broncos built a championship-caliber team around him. He won Super Bowl MVP honors in his final game. Randy Moss. Moss's nickname, The Freak, was fitting as he possessed talents that at times appeared to be otherworldly. Moss burst onto the scene as a rookie by catching 17 touchdowns for the Vikings. 9 years later, Moss had a historic partnership with Tom Brady, where both set individual records. Brady threw 50 touchdown passes, and Moss caught 23, part of the NFL's only undefeated team in a 16-game regular season. Moss ranks second all-time in career touchdown catches and 4th in receiving yards. Joe Green, the backbone of the Steelers' 1970s dynasty, Joe won Defensive Player of the Year honors in 1972 and 1974. In '74, Green spearheaded the Steelers' first of 4 Super Bowl wins during the decade. In Super Bowl IX, he intercepted Hall of Fame quarterback Fran Tarkenton and recovered a critical fumble as Pittsburgh's steel curtain defense shut out Minnesota's offense. Green was so dominant that the NFL outlawed his stunt alignment that made him nearly impossible for interior linemen to block. Aaron Donald, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Donald was named an All-Pro 8 times over a 9-year period and was selected for the Pro Bowl in each of his 10 seasons with the Los Angeles Rams before retiring this offseason. Donald's sheer will helped the Rams come back to defeat the Bengals in Super Bowl LVI. Ray Lewis, a throwback player, Lewis' intensity and mastery of his position led the Ravens to 2 Super Bowl titles. He was the best player on the Ravens' historically great 2000 defense that allowed just 6 points in 3 playoff games. In 17 seasons, Lewis racked up over 2,000 tackles, 31 interceptions, 41.5 sacks, 19 forced fumbles, and 20 fumble recoveries. Dan Marino, widely regarded as the greatest pure passer the NFL has ever seen, Marino excelled during his 17-year career with the Dolphins. He won 5 passing titles and led the NFL in touchdown passes for 3 consecutive seasons from 1984 to '86. His 1984 season remains legendary. Marino set then NFL records with 5,084 yards and 48 touchdowns, leading Miami to the Super Bowl. Earning Comeback Player of the Year in 1994, Dan Marino retired as the NFL's all-time leader in passing yards and touchdown passes. Johnny Unitas, the NFL's best quarterback during the league's first 50 years. Johnny U led the Colts to NFL titles in 1958 and '59 and a Super Bowl title in 1970. He was the winning quarterback in what many consider the greatest game in NFL history, the 1958 NFL Championship game between the Colts and Giants that was the first overtime contest in league history. His record of 47 straight games with at least 1 touchdown pass stood from 1960 until Drew Brees passed him in 2012. Joe Montana. Joe Cool was the first 3-time Super Bowl MVP while leading the 49 ERs to 4 Super Bowl wins during the 1980s. Montana was brilliant in big games. He threw 0 interceptions in 4 Super Bowls while recording some of the greatest individual efforts in Super Bowl history. Montana solidified his status as an all-time legend after leading the 49 ER's iconic 92-yard game-winning drive in Super Bowl 33. Dick Butkus. The word legend is often used loosely in sports, but not in Butkus' case. A 2-time Defensive Player of the Year and 8-time All-Pro selection, the iconic Chicago Bears linebacker struck fear into opposing offenses throughout his 9-year playing career. A ferocious tackler, Butkus was also masterful in pass coverage, intercepting at least 1 pass every year of his career and snagging 5 interceptions during his standout rookie season. Barry Sanders. He didn't spend nearly as much time on the field as everyone would have liked. The former Detroit Lions star exhibited a running style that was unprecedented and remains unmatched. A wizard with the football, Sanders often transformed what looked like 5-yard losses into long runs, highlights of which are now continuously featured at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He leveraged his unique abilities into a decorated career that included 4 rushing titles and 15,259 career rushing yards over just 10 seasons. Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has more than justified his top 10 spot. During Mahomes' first 7 years as the Chiefs' starting quarterback, Kansas City played in the AFC Championship game each year. The Chiefs also won 3 Super Bowls and 4 AFC titles over that span. Individually, Mahomes is a 2-time league MVP and 3-time Super Bowl MVP. He often plays his best at the most crucial moments. Just ask the 49 ERs, who fell victim to Mahomes' brilliance in 2 Super Bowls. Mahomes is the main reason why the Chiefs have a chance this season to become the first franchise to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Expect him to move up this list in the coming years. Reggie White, known as the Minister of Defense, built a Hall of Fame career with the Eagles and Packers. As a formidable pass rusher, he made history by becoming the first major star to switch teams via free agency, signing with the Packers in 1993. 3 years later, he was pivotal in Green Bay's first Super Bowl win in 29 years, recording 3 sacks and lifting the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Lawrence Taylor. Taylor was so dominant in his rookie season that he won both the Defensive Rookie of the Year and NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards. 5 years later, he earned the league MVP and led the Giants to their first Super Bowl victory. Taylor's intense pass rushing skills revolutionized the game and elevated the importance of the left tackle position in the league. Peyton Manning. He is regarded as the greatest regular season quarterback in NFL history. The first overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft, Manning achieved 6 seasons with a 100-plus QB rating and was a 5-time NFL MVP with 14 Pro Bowl selections. His incredible 2012 season deserves special recognition. Returning from a neck injury that nearly ended his career, Manning led the NFL in passing yards, touchdowns, completions, and QBR. Although his second Super Bowl win was largely attributed to the Denver Broncos defense, Manning's career resume solidifies his status as one of the best quarterbacks ever. Walter Payton, affectionately nicknamed Sweetness, was the standout threat in the Chicago Bears offense. Despite defenses often stacking the box to stop him, it was to no avail. From 1976 to 1986, Payton averaged 1,410 rushing yards per season and scored 113 total touchdowns in 165 games. Winning NFL MVP and NFL Man of the Year in 1977, Payton was as impactful off the field as he was on it. Jim Brown, it's hard to quantify how dominant Brown was during his 9 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. Jim Brown is the best running back in NFL history. Entering the league as the 6th overall pick by the Cleveland Browns, Brown immediately won NFL Rookie of the Year and NFL MVP in his first season. Brown led the NFL in rushing 8 times and carried the Browns to their last league title in 1964. His career yards per game average of 104.3 yards remains the highest of any player in NFL history. Jerry Rice. Rice is the best wide receiver in NFL history, and there isn't a close second. Even if you want to go beyond his 3 Super Bowl rings and 10 first-team All-Pro selections, Rice led the NFL in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns 6 different times. He also made both the NFL's 1980s and 1990s All-Decade teams. Plus, the San Francisco 49ers legend has 5,000 receiving yards, more than Larry Fitzgerald, second most in NFL history, and nearly 7,000 more than Terrell Owens. Tom Brady. It's hard to pinpoint when Brady ended the argument as the NFL's greatest player. He firmly entered the conversation after leading the Patriots from behind against Seattle in Super Bowl Tickle-a-Line. Brady entered arguably the greatest territory after he and the Patriots pulled off the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history against Atlanta. His last 2 titles, especially his final one with the Buccaneers at age 43, cemented his legacy as the greatest winner and player the sport has ever seen. And that's it. Thanks for staying until the end. If there's anything you'd like us to cover in a future video, let us know in the comments below.